The iPhone 12 is here and has been huge in the tech industry for the past few weeks. Apple released the iPhone 12 mini, the regular iPhone 12, which I'll be reviewing, the iPhone 12 Pro, and the iPhone 12 Pro Max. There are definitely some improvements for the iPhone 12, but how much they actually matter depend on what iPhone you previously had, and in this video I'll answer the question if you should really upgrade to this year's iPhone 12. I previously did an unboxing video of the iPhone 12, but I want to talk about a topic that a lot of other YouTubers reviewing the iPhone 12 have talked about. As many of you probably know, Apple took out the earphones and the charging brick from the box, which they've explained by saying that it helps the environment. But when I started thinking about it, the charger they provide in the box is a USB Type-C charger, which wouldn't even fit in your old charging bricks, making you go to the Apple store to pick one up for faster charging speeds. In my opinion, it's a great business and money-making move from Apple, but I wouldn't really just put a label on it and call it environmentally friendly. A lot of people right now are actually going to be buying their iPhones from the safety of their own home, so when they see that there's no charging brick or earphones included in the box, they're probably just going to order them separately off the Apple website. This might actually increase carbon emissions since there's going to be more packages for separately purchasing the earpods and the charging brick that doesn't come in the box anymore. And there's also probably going to be more trucks driving around delivering these separate packages, which is ultimately probably also going to help to increase the carbon emissions. Anyways, these were just some of my thoughts about the whole box situation, but I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section below. Taking a look at the brand new squared off design of the iPhone 12, I think that it looks amazing and brings me back to the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 5 era. It feels pretty comfortable to hold, but at times it does feel a bit sharp and unnatural when using it without a case. The back glass of the 12 is a huge fingerprint magnet, but with the case it doesn't really seem to make a huge difference to me. The material for this year's iPhone is made of aluminum, and the engineering this year has proven that it can withstand some pretty crazy drops. The iPhone 12 Pro is even more sturdy with its stainless steel build, but the 12 isn't far off in terms of everyday durability. Apple introduced a ceramic shield which can provide up to 4 times the shatter protection than the previous iPhones, which is amazing for durability. I'm not going to do any drop or scratch tests for my iPhone, but if you guys are interested, I'll leave one from Everything Apple Pro in the description below. In my opinion though, I always recommend that you put a screen protector and a case on your phone to keep it safe. One of the main reasons why I went with the 12 this year rather than the Pro is the fact that it has the same build to it when using a case. With last year's 11 and 11 Pro, you could easily tell the difference between them even when using a case, but with this year's 12 and 12 Pro, you can barely tell a difference besides the weight. Another aspect of the iPhone 12 that's really similar to the Pro model is a display. The iPhone 12 and the 12 Pro have the same 6.1-inch OLED Super Retina XDR display. The only factor that's different here is that the Pro has a slightly brighter screen which could be useful for using your phone outdoors, but honestly the 12 should be just fine. The colors and contrast in the display are honestly really nice with the PPI of 460, giving a clear image that can utilize the full display. Coming from the iPhone 8 Plus with a 5.5-inch display, the iPhone 12 feels like the perfect size with a larger screen but a smaller overall form factor. Something that Apple was heavily promoting during this year's Apple event to unveil the new iPhone 12 was 5G. Depending on where you live can get you better speeds than 4G LTE, but still going to be dependent on your phone plan and your carrier. I'm on T-Mobile, which actually includes 5G in all their plans, which is great, but in my house I'm getting around 80 to 100 megabits per second, which is a good jump from 4G LTE. For people living in cities, I'm sure you guys are going to want to upgrade to 5G since the internet speeds are probably going to be really high there. When you set up your iPhone out of the box, it's going to be in 5G Auto, which means that it's only going to be able to use 5G when you really need it, but if you want it on at all times, you could change the options in your settings. Now for the past years after the iPhone X, I feel like we've gotten processor upgrades every single year, but I don't think that they make a huge difference to our everyday workflow. Relatively new iPhones all have amazing processors, which honestly are more than enough for the tasks that most of us do, but for heavy users, the A14 is going to be the most powerful to date. Apple advertises the A14 as the fastest chip in a smartphone, but also talks about some of the uses for the processor like supporting fast 5G speeds, bringing more power to AR, decreasing lag when taking photos, and most importantly helping process photos with more dynamic range and better night mode, and HDR. The camera in this year's iPhone is probably one of the more impressive improvements from the prior years. Especially coming from the 8 Plus, the portrait mode, wide angle, and night mode pictures are some of my favorite improvements. The dynamic range of the photos coming out of the 12 are excellent since you could take a picture in direct sunlight and the processing system in the phone is still going to make sure that nothing is too washed away or too blown out. The front-facing camera is still decent with the f2.2 aperture, and the back camera has a new f1.6 aperture for the wide-angle lens and an f2.4 aperture for the ultra-wide lens. If you don't know what this means, it's pretty much just the amount of light that can pass through the lens, which can help with dark environments and help to give the nice blurry background when using portrait mode. The portrait mode is pretty good for both the front-facing and the back camera. However, I did see that there was a little bit too much softness around the subject when using portrait mode at times. For general use purposes like taking photos with your friends or family at night, the wide-angle camera is great for being close to your subject and getting everything in frame, in addition to this year's major improvements in night mode and deep fusion. In my opinion, the video capabilities are actually more impressive than the photo capabilities for this year's iPhone. I'm a huge fan of filming everything with the wide-angle lens, and with the option to record in up to 4K 60, it makes for an incredible cinematic camera. Honestly, a lot of really expensive mirrorless cameras can't even do 4K 60 yet, so it's great to have it built in right into your phone. For most people, filming in 4K is probably something that they don't even care about, or it's something that they can't do because of storage. Recording in 1080p with up to 120 FPS is still an excellent video system with enough detail and image clarity for just about everyone. The image stabilization from the iPhone 11 Pro from last year has been brought over to the iPhone 12, giving less camera jitters when filming. Another new addition to the video capabilities this year is the ability to record in Dolby Vision HDR up to 30 FPS, while the Pro model can do up to 60 FPS. In other words, this is going to give you better dynamic range and 10-bit recording, which is going to make your footage look better overall. The battery life for the iPhone 12 and the 12 Pro are advertised as the same 17 hours of video playback and 11 hours of stream video playback, but the regular iPhone 12 will probably be a little bit better in battery life since it has a slightly dimmer max brightness level. After a full day of use, I'm able to end up with around 20 to 40% of battery life, depending on what I do that day. The battery life for this year's iPhones are relatively good, but they're not a huge improvement from the previous year's iPhones. Some reports and leaks have talked about Apple taking away the charging port completely from next year's iPhone, which honestly doesn't come to a surprise to me anymore. With the addition of this year's Magsafe Charger, I'm sure they're kind of going towards taking out the charging port for next year's iPhones and making everybody go out and buy a Magsafe Charger. The charger itself is nothing really too special besides the fact that it could charge at 20 watts. Besides that, I feel like the charger would actually be more annoying than helpful, since every time you would put your phone on the Magsafe Charger, it would kind of come up every time you picked up your iPhone, unless you velcroed or taped your Magsafe Charger down to the table. However, a lot of third-party manufacturers are going to be making a lot of Magsafe chargers, cases, and other accessories, which I'm more excited for since there can be more innovation in that area for a lower price. So one of the questions that a lot of you guys probably have, unless you have your mind set already, is if you should upgrade to this year's iPhone 12. And my answer to this is both yes and no. If you're upgrading from an 8 Plus or older with Touch ID, then yes, I would say that the iPhone 12 would be a worthy upgrade for you. For me personally, Face ID and the use of the entire display have been huge changes for me coming from the 8 Plus. But if you have an iPhone X or newer, I would really recommend that you wait an extra year for the next iPhone 13 or whatever they call it, since they might remove the notch and add a 120Hz display. These are some changes that I really wanted in this year's iPhone 12, but unfortunately they weren't able to implement them. If you have an iPhone X or newer, you're probably not going to feel a huge improvement upgrading to the iPhone 12, since you already have the really good camera system and really good processors that are probably more than enough for your everyday needs. Overall, the iPhone 12 is a really impressive phone from Apple this year in terms of their design work, engineering, processing power, and their camera system. There's a ton of other little features in this year's iPhone 12, but what I talked about today are the main improvements and the main features that you should really consider when looking to upgrade to your new iPhone. Anyways, thank you all for watching today's video. If you guys did enjoy this one, be sure to go down below and hit that like and subscribe button. And thank you again for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.